Hey guys, so this is Sid from 4Rock, and this will be a Thursday Tactics video on the Bastion. So, I have some good rules and bad rules on it. First, I'll be going on all the good stuff. So recently I just read all the rules for buildings, and they make me want to take the Bastion 100%. So, all the armor facings on the Bastion are 14, which makes it really hard to penetrate and glance. And you'll see how helpful that is when you see how to damage units inside them with shooting. So, the Bastion can hold 20 models on the inside of it, and then as many as you can fit on the top. That's actually the ruling for battlements. As many models as you can fit without doing crazy balance acts. So I'd guess probably 15 models, minus or plus, depending on what they are. So, if a Bastion is unoccupied, you cannot shoot or assault it. So that is pretty amazing. So if you leave it unoccupied and decide to just use the automated shooting from all the weapons, your opponent can't do anything about it. They can't damage it at all. So, if any unit is inside the Bastion, they gain Fearless. So that is super good when I get to what I'm doing with my orcs in there. So, if you put it in your deployment zone, which you can put it in your table half, but I say that you should always put it in your deployment zone so that you can deploy directly inside or on top. So, a Bastion can have 2 units in it, one unit on the inside and another on the top. And if the unit on the top sees some impending doom gonna happen on them, they can jump off of it, and they land 3 inches from the base of the Bastion and take a dangerous test, and for every 3 inches it makes it worse. So if it's just a 3-inch jump, you fail on a 1, 6-inch fail on a 2, so on. So, but from impact damage from that, no armor saves. So you will that's a good chance you're gonna die. But I think that'd be pretty fun. So, how to hurt a unit inside. This is definitely a good rule for the occupying unit. When you're inside a Bastion, the only way to get damaged is if your opponent glances the building. If your opponent glances the building, the unit inside takes 1 wound that has the ignores cover special rule. And the Bastion has unlimited hull points. It cannot die from glances. So the only way to kill it is if you penetrate it. And if you penetrate it, it also causes a wound that ignores cover, and you get a roll on the Fortification damage table. So a 1 on the table is all sides are moved by 1, but the worst thing that can happen is on a 7, where the whole thing explodes and becomes impassable, and it can do a lot of damage to the unit inside. So, now I'll go on to the bad stuff. So, when the Bastion is assaulted, you have 3 options. You can either assault the building as normal, as if it was a vehicle, and you automatically hit, and so on, penetrate like normal. The second option is that you can throw grenades at the fire points. So if you're within 2 inches of a fire point, any model in the unit that has a grenade can throw one in. So that means if you have 20 orc boys with stick bombs, every single one that's within 2 inches of the fire point can chuck a grenade in there. That causes D6 hits if it's a frag, or D3 if it's a crack grenade. And those auto hit, it's D6 hits, D3 hits. So that's one option. The other option is to throw grenades on the top of the battlement instead of doing damage in the assault. So you throw grenades if you are within 8 inches of the top battlement, and then it changes, instead of being D6 hits, it's D3 hits for frags and 1 hit for a crack. And yeah, just imagine all those boys chucking grenades up there. That's pretty deadly. Now, one bad thing is how to get to the top of the Bastion if you do not deploy in it. If you run to the Bastion and then embark, it's the same rules as a vehicle. So you can run within the embarking place, which is the door at the back of it, and then hop inside. So then to get to the battlement, it would take you 2 turns. But if you deploy outside of it, you can embark and then move to the top if you really want. So, one funny rule for fortifications is that if you have a ladder that leads to the battlement, you can get up with your movement. Just automatically get up there with your whole movement. So that's pretty awesome if you're doing some custom buildings just for a tournament or something. Don't really put on your fortifications because I'm pretty sure no one will be like, oh yeah, I have a ladder, so I automatically get up there. Yep. Okay, so flamers. If flamers shoot at a fire point at a building, it causes D6 hits on the unit and then 1 hit on the building itself. And another downside is that if you leave the guns automated, they shoot at BS2, but you know, not that bad if you're an orc player. But they shoot at the closest enemy target, so your opponent can choose who you shoot at, so that's pretty dumb. So now I'm going to talk about what I do with my orcs with this bastion. So, the funny rule with fortifications, I'll quote it. It is really funny. It's a funny tactic that you can do for it. And under the fortifications for the bastion, it says, weapons. You have 4 emplaced heavy bolters, typically on each facing. So, I'm just typically, right? So, that means that I can put 2 heavy bolters on one of these. So I can have 2 here and then 2 on the other one right there. So I'll have 4 heavy bolters shooting out. So, that's one funny cheesy thing I do with that. And I'm putting a Runherd and 19 Gretchen inside of it. They're all fearless. They have the best BS in the orc army. And they're only like 60 points for a whole unit. So I put all of them inside that building. They get to shoot all the heavy bolters. And they're really hard to kill when you have 20 models in there. And you only cause 1 wound if you get a glance on the building. And now, on the top of the building, I'll be deploying a bunch of big guns. So I have all my Gretchen with big guns in here, and I put, sorry about that shakiness, I put 3 cannons in the front, so that all the shots that hit the closest unit will, closest model of the unit, will hit the cannons, which are artillery, and they're super tough. They have, like, toughness 6, and they have a 3-up save with 2 wounds each. Actually, they're toughness 7. So actually, they're super tough and pretty invincible. Now, since the Gretchen crew have 2 models for each artillery thing, one of them needs to be in base, and then one of the extra Gretchen are going to be firing this Icarus las cannon. Now that is a pretty awesome unit up there for 60 points, and then 35 for this. I think that the bastion's extremely affordable, and it's not a huge target. So you can do a lot of damage without your opponent really knowing, like, should I shoot that thing, or should I shoot all the 120 boys that are running at me? Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this video on Bastion Tactics. Stay tuned for all of our videos that we'll do every single day. And make sure to subscribe and like this video. Rock on!